film was made, pieced together and put in order by men from Minerva Film. Theodor Christensen directed it, Carsten Wedel was his assistant, Rolf Reuner the cameraman, Niels Viggo Benson composed the music, and Eric Tuxen conducted the orchestra. Here is Simba. She is a 10,000-ton cargo ship. She was built by men from Bormeister and Wayne in Copenhagen, Denmark. Today is the last day before the trials, the last working hours before Simba must be ready, and all the busy men who made her are working feverishly against time. Shortly after sunrise, on a fine day, life begins for Simba. It's the day of the trials. Now then, you tugboats, be careful. Pull her gently, we don't want any scratches on the very first day. Simba is afloat. The comforting pier slides away. The shipyard that nursed her is left behind. Simba is not quite on her own, not yet. She's being towed, dragged along by outside power. But in a few seconds, now, the thousands of horsepower inside will get to work. A B&W diesel engine with turbocharge, 9,000 horsepower. Slowly, we move out of Copenhagen harbor, now gathering speed. The climax of the trials is the test of speed. A special stretch of the Sound, marked by beacons on the island we pass, measures 1 nautical mile. By running that mile, we shall know the trial speed. Here we go. We're on the mile. Now it's up to the engine. Well, that's that. What did she do? 20 knots. When in service, she'll do almost 17, fully laden. Fine speed for a cargo ship. Simba is taken over by the owners. She's no longer a number on the building berth of the shipyard. She embarks on her own career in the Danish Merchant Navy. The engine is grumbling a bit below deck, but then engines usually do, and engineers feel like agreeing with them. All this celebration, this business of praising Simba and her good looks, who does the work? Who's really responsible for the magnificent speed? We are, the engineers. This is a 7-cylinder, 2-stroke, single-acting diesel engine, and it's turbocharged. The second engineer can show us how it works. First, we have a cylinder, and then a piston, and a valve for the exhaust gases. Now then, in order to clean the cylinder after the exhaust, you must have air. It comes from this turbo blower, but it should not be too warm, so it's blown through this cooler. Ah, that's fine, now we understand. And then on into the cylinder, while the exhaust gases drive the turbine, and thus the cycle is completed. Now let's get this right. Let's look at a real diagram. Here's the engine with cylinder, piston and valve. We'll see how it works step by step. First, fuel is injected. The combustion gases drive the piston down. The valve is opened, the exhaust gases drive the turbine, fresh air is blown through the cooling system into the cylinder, thereby scavenging it and refilling it. The valve closes, the piston moves up, pressure increases, and the cycle is repeated. Let's take a closer view of the turbocharger, the rotor blades of the turbine, and the blower supplying the scavenging air. There is no mechanical connection with the engine to drive the system. The cleaning and charging between cycles is done effectively thanks to the B&W scavenging system. The increase in horsepower is 35% above that of a non-turbocharged engine of the same size. With 7 cylinders, this engine produces more energy than an ordinary engine with 9. The engine is the real hero of this film. Let's go back and see how it was born. Today, the making of a turbocharged engine is a matter of routine. Here comes the crankshaft, a heavy weight even for the solid base of our engine. Everything must be precision fitted. The A-frames are featherweights compared to the crankshaft. Their coming marks a new phase in the birth of the engine. They are the bones, the ribs. One day came the pistons. A day the engine won't forget. It brought muscles to the empty skeleton. Inserting the pistons is a thrill. And now the last stage. The newest, most modern accessories are fitted, the turbochargers. From a humble start at the beginning of this century, the diesel engine has developed into a highly efficient instrument of power. Engineers are swarming like ants all over Simba's engine, checking temperatures and pressures, taking diagrams. After 8 weeks of erection, the engine is brought to life, ready for Simba. Launched by a princess of the blood, Simba is ready, herself a beautiful lady of the sea, more than 400 feet from fore to aft. At last, ship and engine are wedded together. They are one. Simba is being loaded for her maiden voyage, and she can take more cargo than an equally powered ship with an ordinary engine. If Simba had been built some few years ago, a 9-cylinder engine would have been fitted. But the total output of this number of cylinders would still not be even quite as great as that of the 7-cylinder turbocharged engine. Therefore, by turbocharging, 2-cylinder groups may be omitted, which means a reduction in the total length of the engine of about 20%. As the length of the engine room is thereby shortened, the cargo capacity of the ship can be correspondingly increased. Furthermore, we have saved about 30% of the engine weight, which means that the draft is less, or in other words, that the ship can take even more cargo at the same draft. The day of departure, of goodbye to Copenhagen, farewell to shipyard and factory, the life story of Simba has begun. Here is the second engineer making his routine tour of inspection. He likes to nurse his engine carefully. Of course, the engine is no baby. It's a young, fully grown specimen, but it is meant to grow old in faithful service. The long lifetime of a good diesel engine is safeguarded by care, by checking, testing, and knowing. The second engineer has finished on the top floor. Now he's coming around to a vital section on the second floor, the intercoolers for the charging air, checking temperatures and pressures. Down below there is a small appendix, an emergency blower, to be used in the most unlikely event of both turbochargers failing. Now the second engineer reaches the bottom with that inquisitive flashlight of his. Engineers are always concerned about the temperature of the engine. I wonder how they feel themselves when it's 100 degrees or more in the shade of the engine room. Now second is going to take over from third, the red-headed fellow who has had the watch. 4 hours for second in the engine room now, 4 quiet but busy hours. Never whistle on the bridge, and don't talk too much. Seafaring people think. And if they don't think about home, they think a bit about the ship. Simba is doing nicely. She won't be bad. A sailor knows how not to praise. They have their little pleasures. Overtaking other cargo ships, neatly and with a superior air. They might give a kind thought to that engine down below sometimes. The engineers look busier. Logbooks demand figures. Columns must be filled in. Has the fuel oil the right viscosity? Is it as fluid as it should be at the temperature to which it is normally heated? Economy is affected by this. Properly cared for, the turbocharged engine consumes 3% less oil than other engines. Are the spare parts in order? Do the injection valves function at the required pressures in the proper way? How are the production and consumption of electricity balanced? What's the message? Ready for maneuvers in an hour. That means we're going into port. For days and days at sea, the engine has been fed on cheap, heavy oil. Now it's going to be given fine diesel oil for maneuvering. Yellow flag. We want a pilot. Pilots are the most important people on the 7 seas, and the most eagerly awaited. Gallant vessels in the gay harbour of Marseille. Here am I, Simba, 1 week out from Copenhagen. The veterans of the high seas don't rush forward to give you a hearty greeting. The Simba may be new to them, but her kind is not. For more than 40 years, Danish diesel engines have made themselves known all over the world. A ship in harbour means busy work and haste to get out to sea again. So that was Marseille. The weather forecast is bad, with some rough weather ahead of us. The engine is uneasy. Steady, it pleads, steady. Besides, there's something not quite right. No, it's not there, second, not there. Methodically seeking, experts on every whim of the engine. It won't take them long to find the fault. Ah, there it is. The fuel pump is sticking. A routine repair. A short affair for experienced engineers. Make the pump clean, bright, and slightly oiled, and it'll work again. The gale is over. The sea is getting warmer. We can feel the hot glow of Africa. We are Simba of Copenhagen, bound for port side. We are Simba of Copenhagen. When dawn freshens east of Egypt, Simba finds herself in the Suez Canal, 100 miles of the most important international waterway in the world. The Suez Canal is a focal point, a bottleneck. Since the opening of the canal in 1869, these banks have witnessed the whole evolution of shipping. Great Bitter Lake, the meeting place of northbound and southbound traffic in the canal. When passing through the lake, you meet tankers. Tankers more than any other type of vessel. Today, in the race between steam and diesel, diesel has gained enormously. In super tankers of up to 50,000 tons, until recently a domain of the steam turbine, the B&W turbocharged engine will prove its efficiency and economy. Look, there's a veteran, the first type of motor ship built by B&W about 40 years ago, with the most modern diesel engine of its day. We meet ship after ship, colleagues in diesel, even countrymen, like Denmark's largest tanker, with its turbocharged engine, built by B&W. From Great Bitter Lake, the procession turns into the canal again. We move slowly. This is the main artery of the shipping of the world, but while passing through the canal, its pulse is only 7 knots. Finally, we come to the end of the canal. Beyond the last bend is the town of Suez. We leave the territory of Egypt, move out into the Gulf of Suez, touch real water again, the salty waters of the Red Sea, and we sail full speed, leaving the others behind. The captain lays the course, a straight course for 3.5 days sailing through the Red Sea. The gyro compass is switched on. Navigation by automation. They're up to something on board the Simba, especially down below. The long stretch of the Red Sea is going to be used for new tests, among them a combined economy speed test. We're going to do 17 knots steady for 24 hours, measuring the exact consumption of fuel and lubrication oil to test the engine's economy. We expect every cylinder to do his duty, every turbocharger, every bearing, everything down to the tiniest piece of machinery. The log shows 17. Take a look at the sea. The others are left behind, even fast tankers. Everybody is concerned about the engine, kept busy taking the blood pressure of each cylinder. The diagrams will be studied. The engineers keep account of every detail concerning temperatures, pressures, consumption of fuel and lubrication oil, revolutions of engine and turbochargers. And thus it goes on, hour after hour, watch after watch, 24 hours at 115 revolutions per minute. As a matter of routine, we may mention that the engine stood its test. It confirms a speed of 17 knots at a lower fuel consumption than would be required by any other kind of machinery. We reach Aden, gateway between east and west. Here, the past and the present meet, with a glimpse of the future thrown in. A dhow, for more than 2,000 years, the traditional and efficient type of craft crossing between Africa and Asia, meets the turbocharged Simba. Sailing into the Gulf and port of Aden, we meet a parade of world shipping. In this mixed company of world shipping, B&W takes its heavy share. Wherever you go, you will meet more B&W engines than any other make. beyond the rocks of Aden, north, south, east and west, in the world of ships, the spinning of B&W engines spells power. Power in the service of world economy.